Hi, I'm Oliver Brown. It is Tuesday, the 26th of October, and I'm joined today for our two mugs by Peter Lin, who comes to us as a colleague of mine from Asia, but he's coming for us from his Taiwanese cupping lab. Pete, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello everyone, my name is Pete and pleasure to be here. Yeah, glad to join the talk with the Oli this time.
Thank you, Pete. Now, the reason I've invited you, Pete, is because I know you support us quite heavily, and you and Steve thrash lots of ideas backwards and forwards about the market, technicalities in the market, and you're sort of, that's kind of your area of expertise. So I wanted to sort of get your thoughts on what was happening, get some insight, because we've seen some really interesting information come, or like we're seeing big dynamic moves in the weather in Brazil. We're seeing there's good moisture. The soils we're expecting to see the moisture levels in the soil quite high. And yet, despite all of these things that would suggest the market drops, we're not seeing that. And in fact, and as you've discussed, we're seeing quite high support at 200 cent point. And I thought you could sort of give us an idea of why that's happening, because I know you've got some ideas around, as you've discussed, the taper and what that means to what's going on. So would love your insight.
Right, I think it's a very complex. I think as we all seeing, when we think the rent coming over, we might thinking it might kind of suppress the market level, and also you just mentioned with the taper, you might thinking they're coming to impact the market to make it lower. But also you see a lot of rumor like the Colombia before 100 million bag, and then following up by actually a lot of countries reopen. I think that's you see the people expect the demand is coming back, and then yeah, I think that also at the same time you also see the certified start level start to decrease. And I mean this year it hasn't peaked as the year before was 2.4 or 2.6 million baht, and this year only 2.2, and then start to wind down. So that's kind of a indicator to say, okay, people see, okay, there's actually more demand coming over. Then that's why you see there's a strong support. And and also if we read through the technical side, then you see the level at the bottom, it's one higher end with the previous. So you can see there's a supporting from technical, and at the same time you also see from the fundamental side, it's what we see from the actual demand from the Europe and US, and also Asia, a lot pace reopen now. So yeah, I think that's the play coming to play with the supporting factor for the market.
Yeah, thanks for that. And again, I mentioned the taper. Uh, Again, there's the assumption everyone knows what that means, but I'm sure not everyone does know what that means. What is the taper, and why is it relevant to commodity markets, to the US, to the US dollar, the Brazil real? Give us a bit of a
Yeah.
explanation.
Okay. So I think before we mention this, I think it's better we trying to think what happened when it's 2020 March. So you see the Fed coming to the market, say, okay, they're going to come into have a lot of financial stimulus. They're going to give you a lot of package to help us to get through the COVID situation. So back then they start to put a lot of liquidity to the market. So what does that mean? They just keep giving the money to the market, so to support support us to get through this. So what's that mean? That means a lot of things will increase, because the price, I think you can see the house price increase, the equity increase. I mean, you can see it once the meeting has been done, and yeah, you see the market never going back since 2020 March. So that's a sign already. And similar, those coming to the commodity market at the same time. The gold, the silver, the grain, the cocoa, the coffee include as well. And so that's why all the price is increased. So that's why you see a lot of the consumer purchase index, it's also increased at the same time. And now they're seeing it's a bit too much now, so they thinking to reduce the liquidity. They want now the Fed trying to think, okay, I think I give the market too much money. They need to slow down. So taper means okay. Next week, I think second and third of the November, there's a meeting. They're going to announce what's the action regarding reduce the liquidity. So that might give us an idea. The commodity might have a pressure to going up because they might thinking because Fed is going to reduce the liquidity, so the market might coming down, but it just might be because I think now it's kind of out of control. If you see the oil now, I mean, it went to over 81, but I mean, that's even double before COVID. So I think it's kind of out of control. So that's why I cannot tell you if even they say they're going to stop the bumper repurchasing now, is the coffee going to coming down? Because so many things come into play. And especially you see the logistics. I think we've been talking this for like 1 year. People start to covering everywhere. That's also another bullish factor for the market. And yeah, I think if you check with the the future spread, you can see there's not much carry after K 2022, which is May 2022. But but now it's, I think people just fighting for the stock for the spot inventory now.
Interesting. Are you sort of seeing as well, like I know we've seen instances in Colombia where we've seen defaults. Is the situation in Colombia, you know, those kind of defaults just occurring in Colombia, or are we now starting to see defaults happening in other producing countries, you know, and is that also impacting this slight sense of unknowing and therefore essentially ultimately panic? You know, is that also what's happening?
Yeah, I think you also see that. I think 2 weeks ago, I think when the Reuters just released the press like Colombia found before 100 million back. I think it's actually, I mean, the coffee actually still there. The farmer just reluctant to release the coffee at the price they agreed before June. They will contract you like 150 cents per pound, but now they see the market at 200 level. If their penalty, I don't know what's the agreement before, but if their penalty is it's only 10 cents. I rather I mean, if I'm the farmer, when I see the 10 cents, okay, I just let you go. I pay you 10 cents. I can sell to the market 200 cents now. And now, actually, I have one friend who is he's a farmer in origin in Colombia. Actually, they also buy apartment from the farmer, and they've been working with one exclusive farmer for like 7 years, and since they start the business, and they write the contract back to February and for the whole year supply. And on the second container, which is happened to June, they say, okay, this you have to increase 10 cents, otherwise I won't ship. And they say, what's the problem? Then because a lot of buyer actually coming to the origin to say, okay, they can buy off whole your lot, and because they see the reopening, the demand is coming. And now I think last month they just have a chat and say the farmer actually want to default. They say if you cannot increase another 35 cents, I don't think I can supply you. But you have to think they have like 7 years relationship, but it's still not reliable. I mean, it's not default. It's actually just they don't want to give you the price they agreed before, because now a lot of European buyer and US buyer actually willing to pay the big bucks to just secure the lot, because they see the surge demand after the reopening. And yeah, I think there's actually been a lot of interesting point, like what happened in Asia now.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you sort of said we were just chatting earlier, and you sort of said that, you know, Asia's actually at the back of the queue behind, you know, Australia, Europe, US, which really surprises me, because I would have thought that, on the contrary, they would have had such large buying power, that they would have been at the front of the queue. But that's fascinating to see that that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I think that I only can speak for, I think in Taiwan, that's what I see. I mean, I observe in person. It's because people bench a lot of importer, they bought a year at start. So a lot of specialty supplier from our side, and they actually still benchmark at 120, C market 120. But all the rally happened after June. And then here at the destination, there's no one, I mean, there's no roster really realize, the coffee increased so much. I think so actually the local importer here is very poor. They're trying to hold on as much as they could not to increase the retail price, because everyone, I mean, a local importer, they are just trying to bet like against with the market to see if the market drop back to normal. If not 200 cents, I mean, if not 150 cents, how about 180 cents possible? That's another way they can repricing their retail price. So no one is willing to increase the price, because there's no one start yet. So yeah, and like I heard a lot of complaint from the importer now, like they kind of lose their buying power, because as just what we just mentioned, a lot of European and US buyer actually can actually outbid you 20 cents more, and for the bigger volume, like a 10-ton specialty lot, but now usually they only do 3-ton here, 3-ton there, and not, but with the 30 cents less. So actually a lot of Taiwan importer, they are a little bit kind of difficult to procure the same quality, and then even with the 30% increase, they actually still not able to outbid with other buyer from I think the developed country buyer, I would say. So I think it's a little bit challenging here.
Yeah, and that's also sort of quite interesting insight into the mentality of the producers, that they are willing to walk away from a 7-year relationship, and that ultimately, quite frankly, for the producer, it's their ability to maximize profit on their product, which is more and again, I think it does beg the question as to coffee's got to be worth what it costs to produce, and then some, and as I think Steve and I have touched on, it's in a way, I know it's been very challenging for many of our roasters here, but in a way it's good to see coffee being priced probably where it should be, so that our producers can survive and thrive in these conditions.
Yeah, but I think but what the person I mentioned, they are actually a very high-end specialty buyer. So they're buying like over I think 60 cents per pound before, and now the farmer want 800 cents. So they say if you can't afford 800 cents, they just walk away.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not just for commercial. I think that's already an indicator. You see the high end, or the nano lot, the micro lot. I mean, what happened to next year, especially what would be the offer price would be look like? It's very scary.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. The other parallel I wanted to sort of highlight a little bit was, you guys are a little bit further ahead of us in terms of lockdown. I know you guys have been out in Taiwan lockdown for a while. Yeah, like how you, because I'm fascinated to sort of see, or is that a behind the curtain of what Australia is going to look like in 6 months' time, or a couple of months' time? What is consumption looking like, and are lots of roasters buying, or as you said, still holding off buying because they're betting on the market?
I think the cultural background is different, so I think the consumption pattern is different as well. So coffee, they are more for, I think, for the people need to go to the office. So it's not like Australia. It's a daily drink. They drink 2 cups, 3 cups a day. I think we also see a lot of increase when the lockdown. Actually, the coffee shop near in your living room, I think they all like double, triple the volume. But in Taiwan here, it's not the case. Like I even see the breakfast shop they close. Those are they selling the bun and also selling with the soy milk. Even they close. So
Yeah, wow.
there's not even that mention with the coffee, because coffee it's more for the office worker, I would say. And then a lot of importer they kind of like they say they report like that's 80% decrease from what I see. And now actually even we have been reopened for 2 months, still like only 50% now. And yeah, so it's still a little challenging.
Yeah, wow. Interesting. And you know, what do you think the future holds, sort of short term, long term for the price? Do you think we're going to sort of see, because I know Steve's view is we're probably likely to sort of see it, maybe over the next 2 or 3 months, coffee price come down from 190, high 190s. Would you agree with Steve on that? Sort of knowing what you know from a from a technical perspective, like what are your
I think yeah, I think depends on your what's the time frame we are looking. That really that's too much factor come into play. I mean, we just mentioned the paper, and then you also see the Christmas coming, you also see the Chinese New Year coming. Then yeah, we don't know. I mean, if there's a strong demand for coffee, then hopefully not. I don't want to see coffee over 220 cents above, because once you break the resistance, it's more like it's like a free market. Like I think when we talking about this, when market was 150, and I was like hoping not to break I think 156, because if you break that point, then you don't know where it goes. So that's where we are now. So yeah, just don't break 220, and yeah, at least we know it's still within the range. So I think 190 will be good level to cover for the Q1, Q2, Q3 next year. But I think for the very short term, like I think 200 cents is it's the level we are looking now. I think you see, if you see yesterday, I think also the day before, the market all actually going to 198, 197.
Yeah.
But still coming back to cover. I think people have the mentality to think, okay, maybe 200 cents is the level they need to take a little bit to take the risk off the table.
Yeah.
So that's possibly can reflect to what Monster might say at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. And are we actually though seeing high volumes of sales from origin? Like, because all things would indicate the Brazilian producer, for example, is getting very good money for his coffee at the moment. But and I think you talked a little bit about it. There's not actually a huge volume being traded, even though it is being traded very expensively. There's not a huge volume being traded. Is that just a function of it being so expensive, or is it also a reticence from the producers themselves that they don't want to sell, at this time?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both with the logistic constraint. Like there's actually not much container can be can be shipped out, and then they also see a lot of demand. So I think if you think, okay, something on your hand it was $1 before and now become $2, then of course then you might now your mentality, okay, I can only willing to sell at 1.9. Yeah, I think so. That's why they also keep the level that high. But as you see, like the export volume is actually decreased, but that also because of the lack of container. I cannot really speak for them, but I think we should have a lot of physical coffee pending to be released to be sold, but they're just not willing to lower their offer. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, the only thing that we can guarantee is that we don't know what's going to happen over the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And again, like a fascinating insight for me. You were talking about the specialty market. Taiwanese roasters are very specialty focused. what the sort of purchase trends are you seeing for the specialty end of town at the moment?
I think in town here they are all very target very high in particular. Like we recently have one COE auction from Taiwanese coffee, and I think they're all looking for customized lab. And then I think that actually bring up to you because I think that's not my strength. I think that's also bringing my question to you, which is I think the coming Costa Rica, I think, and the Kenya, and also with the Ethiopia. I think that's actually I want to know about more. I mean, what do you see? What's your view for the specialty market of those three particular origins?
Yeah, I mean those origins certainly are the ones that we've got on our radar next. You know, the big one being Ethiopia, and we're doing a lot of forward planning for that. Whilst we don't yet have an understanding of where the ECX is pricing, you know, their coffee, and ultimately we can't go out to shop for Ethiopian coffee until we've got that number. What we can do is we can get a really good understanding of what quality is looking like from the fly crop, which has just been, and from conversations we've had with Ethiopia, I've had with Getu, you know, quality is looking great. The volume's looking really good as well, so that's exciting. That might take a bit of a sting out of the prices, but yeah, for us, we're very much getting ready to pre-plan purchasing for Ethiopia. So anyone looking for bespoke coffee, we need to be having that conversation within the next 4 weeks at least, so that, you know, the washing stations can be ready to prepare, you know, anaerobic fermentations, you know, honeys, naturals, all of that kind of thing, because that takes a lot of time to organize. It's certainly not something you can just, you know, snap and you know, get ready. So that's a big thing for us. I think, you know, my advice would be, you know, make sure you're talking to your customers about, you know, pre-booking, because now is the time that you want to be doing that for, you know, all three origins, to be quite frank. Similarly with Kenya, we're not going to see any prices really happen until after Christmas, but definitely for anything that you want sort of pre-selected, you know, as the picking is just starting to happen now in Kenya, for example, if you want, you know, varietal separation, now is the time to make sure, you know, those small, you know, small producers are, you know, selecting the SL28 from the 32. That kind of thing I think is really important. And for us as well, I know we had great success with the naturals last year. I know that the interest was astronomical and we didn't have enough to sell. Again, you know, being able to talk to our, you know, roasters about their interest in the naturals, that now's a good time. And even though it won't be, you know, that's unlikely to be processed until I would say March of next year. Again, you know, thinking along those lines now is really crucial in order to get, you know, to get what you want. But certainly, from Kenya's perspective, prices have been, you know, very aggressive. You know, I think we can absolutely expect, you know, minimum prices at $4, $4.50. You know, from the conversations we've seen, from the prices we've seen, you know, some of the FAQ qualities that they've been selling, and it's been the end of the crop's been ridiculously high. You know.
Yeah, that's actually the thing I want to ask you, like, because I saw a lot of offer. It's that the AA top it's plus 290. So if we say today's price, it's plus 490. So thinking about that, if it's coming to, it's already flat, almost 500 cents for commercial, very good commercial quality. Then I don't know what happened for our loved natural lab and our wash lab. So how do you see that?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. They're going to be pricey this year. There's no doubt about it. You know, ultimately the way in which Kenyan coffee is sold, each factory, the processing center for the cherries, they get to choose who, they're called marketing agents, who markets their coffee. And of course, they choose the marketing agent that got them the highest price last year, and they will want to know that this marketing agent, will be making sure that they get the maximum price for their product this year, which will obviously mean it's a yearly decision that each factory makes. So, the marketing agent's success, for the 23-24 crop or 22-23 crop will be defined by his success this season coming, which will mean he will need to maximize the prices he gets. Or they get. So, like that, it's an arms race from a marketing position, because then they will get more customers the following year, and it keeps going. So I expect prices to be, high, and I think you can comfortably looking at $5.50, $6, $7, maybe even for some of those very, very sought after lots. It's going to be interesting, but that said, we thought this year prices were high, but roasters still have a love for Kenyan coffee, and it's never something that you buy in containers. It's usually multiples of boxes, and I think people love to have a Kenyan there, and I think there'll still be that interest in those qualities. But yeah, we're going to have to definitely make sure that it's tasting good, and the value for money is definitely there.
You almost take my breath. Like I thought, like 2020, it's very challenging, and 2021, it's even worse. And then now you say the price is going up again. I said, okay, then I can't imagine what happened 2022. Let's scratch my head.
It's going to be interesting. Look, you don't know what's going to happen. If the market does drop, then I'm sure the price will drop in line with that. I think everyone's reacting to where the C market is. That's understandable. And as you said it before, 6 months, like, whilst you might see the market at a low for quite a long time, you don't tend to see the market at super high levels for a long time historically. I know, and I think you'll sort of see from my perspective, as that starts to soften, the specialty qualities, maybe might not be as aggressive as we think they could be, but certainly I think you should be thinking along those lines. And again, I think what's really important is that you've got great, in your case, through Dormant's, great partners, because you can guarantee that they're going to get you the quality that you want. And I think that's a huge one for us. We're so lucky to have, our sister company, having Mookie on the ground in Kenya, and she's able to literally, live show us her live cupping of the lots. We're very lucky to have that connection. So it's gonna be interesting crop for Kenya.
That's actually I was thinking to actually, because everyone now can going to the origin and to taste the coffee they would like to purchase. So so I was like a bit interested to know, okay, how do you secure the lot you want to buy, and without going to the origin, and then how can you ensure the quality? And that's actually a very interesting one, because from Asia point of view, everyone need to taste, and then they're only willing to buy when they taste. So could you share with a bit how you do the procurement this year?
Yes.
For the next crop.
Yeah, for sure. I think innovation's key. I think willingness to let go of the reins, quite frankly, is key. I think those that haven't, we've seen instances where roasters that must cup the coffee themselves make that decision. They might only just be seeing their Ethiopians arrive. They might only just be seeing their Kenyans arrive. And I think, if you must have that ultimate control, then there will be consequences just by the fact of how long it takes to get a sample, to approve that sample, to send confirmation back. And by that point, you've missed your slot. And there's no, unlike a year ago where there are still options. Oh, we can put it on the next container. There's just not that option. So those roasters that still insist on having that will lose out to those that are willing to go along with the journey. So, obviously, it's no secret in Australia, those of you that get the quality to Australian shores first, are those that are going to have access to the market. And I think, we had great success because we're so well calibrated with our sister offices. In the case of Ethiopia, for example, what Getu's cupping notes were, and the level of detail that he was reporting on when he was tasting and approving the coffees on our behalf last year, the crop just gone, was incredible. From the amount of UV samples per 100 grams to active moisture to very, very, and there's no point doing it unless you're 100% honest. So very, very honest cupping notes. We were able to be like, yeah, look, can you remill this quality? Can we consider switching that lot out? That dialogue was fundamental to us being able to get the wash lots and and the naturals out early. That being said, we were still undone by coffee being stuck in transit. And then you've done everything you can to get it out of the country on time. You've done everything you can to get the highest quality, and some shipping company doesn't care, and they just park your coffee in Singapore. So that for us has been a massive challenge. So it's about having a relationship, and again, if you apply that to Costa Rica, we were speaking with Alejo Castro from Volcan Azul last week. And again, we're already organizing what we were going to be doing for both the micros and his wash blenders. And again, it's interesting to see similarly situation there. The washed coffees are going to cost more again this year, but whilst the washed coffees, the blend qualities have increased in price, he's not increasing the micros and nano lots, which is fantastic. So like that's again a lot to do with relationship, and we've now been working with Alejo for 5 years, and I think for him the relationship does matter, and having connectivity with lots of different roasters is key. And for him, therefore, he's been amazing because he's given us a huge selection of lots to work with. We're very lucky to have that relationship, so he can do multitude of different varieties, a multitude of different processes, and a number of different farms, and that allows us to be able to support 5 roasters all in the same city, each with their own micro lot, and that's we're very lucky. So
I think that's the benefit to be part of the e-com. Like we all have our run personnel and to cup the source, and then also have the long-term relationship perspective in terms of in the business, I reckon.
It is. It's like to me, it's that advantage. You've got the buying power, you've got the relationship. Again, I the team and Alejo and I all also go back relatively far in the coffee world. So we're very, very lucky to have that and to have that reach. So it's looking good. But and again, another origin for me that's important to start considering is Honduras as well. That's a fundamental one, and that's key because of Colombia, the Colombian situation. We've seen Excelsior prices, they are as expensive as a sometimes even mill traceable Honduran quality. They're at the same level, they're at the same prices, and when that's the case, there's only going to be so long that roasters are going to insist that they have Colombia in their blend. So for us, the strategy of Honduras is a fascinating origin. It's got such an interesting network of mountains. It's got different wind orientations. It's got warm air coming from the Caribbean coming up onto sort of the northeast part of Honduras, and then it's also got the other side where it's getting colder wind as well. So it's got some really interesting different terroirs. It's got really interesting mountain ranges which create these lovely pockets of you know, yeah, they're their own little terroir ultimately. So within a, you know, I say a small country, it's not that small. Within one country, Honduras can have multitude of different flavor profiles, and that's something that we're looking into for the 2020 crop. And we're looking at taking advantage of some of those different regional qualities. You know, Opalaca, Coban, you know, Montesinos we bought in the past, and taking advantage of some of those flavor profiles, which will hopefully allow the roasters to still get that acidity, you know, that they expect from Colombia, but obviously at prices that are a little bit more manageable in blends. And again, I've been really impressed by the micro quality we've seen out of Honduras. So I'm really excited by what Honduras can offer as well. And that's something we've already started conversations with our team there. So yeah, it's all a go, keeping us very busy.
Yeah, I feel like there's more origin will be in your blend component now to try to lower the average cost of your cost per bag, I think.
Yeah, I think you know, sure, lots of people still have Colombia and Brazil. It has been the backbone of most people's blends for a long time, but certainly you will see more components being added in and averaged. And if you look, I guess, at some of the roasters companies that have been around longer, you notice that those companies, the ones with multiple blend components, I always used to scratch my head, why have they got so many? And now perhaps we know, you know, like we can see why that's a fact, to average out the flavor profile and manage the price, because ultimately, you know, you've got to hit a price point that your customer expects as a roaster. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how the market responds. Pete, we're coming up to well, I think slightly over 30 minutes.
Okay, that's great.
I could talk for hours on this subject, but I want to keep our listeners fresh. Thank you very, very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your insights and questions. And hopefully we'll have you join at some point in the future.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. That's my pleasure.
Thanks, Pete. All the best.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.